Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 416 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. How's it going? I hope you're having an amazing week. I hope you're doing the things that make you feel invigorated and alive. So Eric and I, my husband Eric and I visited my little sister Molly and her husband in Nashville for the weekend recently. It's about a 3-hour drive from our house to hers. Now, part of the fun of the trip, any trip actually for me and my husband, is the actual drive. We love it. I've given a lot of thought, and it's because it's just the two of us. Like I always say, it's when I get him all to myself. Usually he's busy taking care of business. He's a busy guy. But he's one of those that is always taking care of something, which is good. But in the car, there's none of that to do. So we get to just spend time with each other with no real distractions. So what we usually do is pick a podcast that we both love and we know we'll love to listen to, but we don't just listen to it. We absorb it and dissect it. We pause it and we talk about it. It'll take us 3 hours sometimes to get through a 1-hour podcast, especially if it's really interesting. The drive on our trips, it's always one of my favorite parts because we do this every single time. So this last trip was no different. We both love Tony Robbins. If you don't know this, I know I've talked about it before in episodes, but Eric and I actually met at a Tony Robbins event in California in 2005. Well, Tony was being interviewed by Theo Vaughn on Theo's podcast. He's a comedian, so he's kind of funny, but he was interviewing Tony, and he's amazing, just as he always is. But here's the thing. Eric and I used to both go to Tony's seminars, obviously, because we met there. But even early in our marriage, we would go, and hearing him on his podcast reminded both of us that we need to get back into some of Tony's workshops because it really, really puts our mindset in such a different place when we fill our head with empowering messages instead of what we sometimes allow to drift in. I mean, it's election year, and Eric and I both also enjoy politics to a degree, and so we've been taking some of that in recently, and that's an entirely different mindset to be focused on politics rather than a lot of the things that Tony talks about, even though he does sometimes. He also talks about politics periodically. So it was a 2-hour and 45-minute podcast. We got through a little over an hour of it on our drive home. I mean, we listened to the rest of it when we got home because it was snowing and we weren't going anywhere. And I think we finished it the next day because we got snowed in. So it probably took us about 6 or 7 hours to listen and talk through a less than 3-hour podcast. Now, there's not a lot more I love than doing that, especially with Eric, because he and I align in our thoughts. So we feed off each other. It makes us feel really good. And the reason it makes us feel good, well, I should say reasons, because there's not just one. I mean, the reasons are we connect with each other because we have deep, long conversations, which is awesome. And Tony has an abundance of forward-thinking knowledge, and he always shares it. So we're learning things, which is growth, and it reminds us of areas where we really could be doing better, which is self-improvement. For the week after that weekend trip, both of us were internalizing and replaying some of the things Tony shared and really trying to apply it in our daily life. That made us better, not only individually, but as a couple too. It's really easy to get caught up in our day-to-day activities and forget that life is what you make it. The decisions you make every single day are creating the life you'll have tomorrow. The best doesn't have to be behind us. Where you are today is because of what you did up until now. If your life is really good and you want it to keep getting better, you have to not only keep doing the things that got you there where you are today, but also keep upping your game. But a lot of us get to where things are really good and then we get complacent and comfortable and kind of take the pedal off the gas. That's what Eric and I realized on that drive home from Nashville listening to Tony Robbins on some comedian's podcast. Over the last 6 or 7 years, we've kind of gotten a little off track in some of the habits we both used to have. I mean, we both used to spend a lot more time going to events that kept us on track. At least once a year, we would go to some sort of seminar that evaluates where we are and where we want to be and what we need to do to be getting us there. Now, it made us reevaluate what we're doing. It made us reevaluate where things have gotten a little off track. So a little more sugar here and there, a little more alcohol here and there, a little less focus on what's going right, and maybe a little more focus on what's going wrong. Not too bad, but think about it. If you're driving somewhere and you veer to the right when you're supposed to veer to the left, and now you're heading in the wrong direction, or maybe you miss an exit, but you're still moving, so you should be fine, right? No, you could be moving along, but going in the exact wrong direction of where you want to be. I remember one time I was traveling home with family from a wedding in Illinois. And at some point, my brother-in-law had been driving the whole time, and I could see he was getting tired. So I said, hey, let me drive for a while and you take a nap. And so that's what we did. Everybody was napping and I was driving. So he said, hey, we're on this highway for another 2 hours. So you don't have to worry about taking a wrong turn. So I thought, okay, great. So they all take their naps, and he slept a little longer than he planned, and I wasn't really paying attention to time. So when he wakes up, he looks around and he was like, where are we? And I said, I don't know. You said just stay on this highway, and that's what I did. Well, unfortunately, I had missed one little veer to the right, and we'd been heading in the wrong direction for about 30 minutes. Fortunately, he woke up when he did, or who knows where we would have been. But you see, just because you're moving doesn't mean you're heading where you want to go. I tell that story because it's super easy to veer off track just a little, and sometimes that causes us to slowly but surely get way off track. So maybe your friend you walk with moves away and now you stop walking every day. That's a little veering off track. Or maybe you go on vacation, and while on vacation, instead of drinking your regular black coffee, you start drinking a coffee drink every morning that has lots of sugar. And once you get back home, you keep that up. That's a little veering off track. Maybe you notice yourself, instead of just drinking on the weekend, you start having a few drinks every night. That's a little veering off track. But all of these could cause you veer in a direction you didn't intend and don't want to go. Now, it doesn't have to be a big change. Sometimes it's the little ones that get you. That's why it's so important to keep a check on where you're heading and make sure you keep doing the things to get you there. Keep doing the things that make you better. My challenge to you is to take a quick pulse of your life. Are there little things that have snuck into or out of your daily routine that's veering you away from the life you want to live? It's okay if there are. You're a work in progress. We all are. But progress is the goal, not regression. So do what you need to do to get back on track. Do what you need to do to make yourself better. Share this with 3 people who love self-improvement as much as we do. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.